Welcome to the WP Builds podcast, bringing you the latest news from the WordPress community. Now, welcome your hosts, David Wormsley and Nathan Wrigley.
Hello there and welcome to another episode of the WP Builds podcast. You've reached number 272, entitled Sell Digital Products with Lemon Squeezy. It was published on Thursday the 31st of March 2022. My name's Nathan Wrigley and I'll be joined by my interview guests in just a few moments. But before then, a little bit of housekeeping. If you are interested in WP Builds and you want to keep up to date with all that we do a podcast episode every Thursday. That's what you're listening to now. Plus we do our live This Week in WordPress show. You can go to wpbuilds.com/subscribe. wpbuilds.com/subscribe, and over there you'll be able to sign up and keep updated. Another thing that we have is our deals page, wpbuilds.com/deals, and it's a bit like Black Friday but every single day of the week. So if you're in the business of buying something this week, go check that page out, because you never know, after you've searched and filtered, you might find a coupon code for something that you desire. Another thing that I'd like to mention is that the Page Builder Summit is back. We're coming back to you later in the year. It's version 4 of the summit, and we're interested in getting you updated. If you go over to pagebuildersummit.com, that page will allow you to sign up, and that will get you onto our wait list. And from there, we will keep you updated as soon as anything happens. Like I said, it's coming later in the year, but I would strongly recommend that you go and get updated, and then we can keep you informed. pagebuildersummit.com. The WP Builds podcast was brought to you today by Cloudways. Cloudways provides the ultimate managed WordPress and WooCommerce hosting solutions. Easy setup allows you to get started in minutes. Focus on your business and say goodbye to hassles. Get started with their free 3-day trial to enjoy unmatched performance, superb uptime, and 24/7 active support. And we do thank Cloudways for helping us to put on the WP Builds podcast each and every week. Okay, what have we got today for you? Well, this is really interesting. It's a new thing, and it's called Lemon Squeezy, which is kind of a curious name. It harks back, in my case, to the days on the playground where children used to say, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And the idea is that if something was obvious and straightforward, you'd say it was easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And e-commerce, selling digital products, could be considered to be rather a difficult thing. Lemon Squeezy hopes to tackle that. It's a platform which is SaaS-based, so everything is done on their side of things, and they are what's called a merchant of record, which means that they can take over all of the bits and pieces that really, if you're into selling digital products, you probably don't want to involve yourself in. So that might be things like taxation or refunding, those kind of things. They've got a WordPress plugin, which means that you can have everything done on your WordPress website, but it's a really curious, interesting solution, and it's for selling specifically digital things. So it might be PDFs, ebooks, software licensing, all sorts of possible permutations, and it's a really, really interesting podcast. I talked to two of the guys who work there, J.R. Farr and Gilbert Pellegrom, but you're also going to find out that they've got a fairly heavyweight team of developers behind them as well. So really interesting podcast. In case you reach out to them from this podcast, do be sure to let them know that you found them from the WP Builds podcast. Would really appreciate that. Okay, so without further delay, I hope that you enjoy the podcast. Hello there, welcome to the interview part of the WP Builds podcast. Thank you for joining us. Today we have two guests, which is fairly unusual for the podcast. Normally it's just one, but this seemed like the perfect moment. We've got two fellas from a plugin. Well, I say a plugin, you're about to find out it's considerably more than a plugin. But they're from Lemon Squeezy, which I confess is something new to me. So they're going to guide me through what it is and what it does today. But without further ado, let me introduce firstly J.R. Farr. How are you doing, J.R.?
Good, thanks for having us.
You are so welcome. And Gilbert, now Gilbert, we never established, but I'm going to say Pellegrom.
Yeah, well done.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
first time.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
that's very rare indeed for me to get a name right. So you guys are from Lemon Squeezy. I think probably the first thing I'm going to say, I often do this, is go to lemonsqueezy.com. Have that in the back of your mind whilst this whole podcast is going on. So it's www.lemonsqueezy, SQUEEZY or ZY, depending on where you live, and go check it out. But I don't really mind who takes any of these questions, and if you want to crosstalk and interrupt, that's fine by me as well. But let's first of all establish what it is. So give us the 1 minute elevator pitch, one of you.
Yeah, so Lemon Squeezy is a hosted SaaS digital product solution. You can sell anything digital, downloads, software licenses, subscriptions. One of the differences of Lemon Squeezy is we do act as the merchant of record, so we take on taxes and VAT and fraud, and so it's really is easy peasy Lemon Squeezy. And there's a lot of other features that we make. I think what we like to do is we look at something complex from a technical standpoint, and we wrap it up in a pretty friendly UI. And so we really lean into the whole easy peasy concept. And so that's where we're headed with Lemon Squeezy. And you can pretty much sell anything even without a website with Lemon Squeezy.
It's a curious name, isn't it? Because in my head, that phrase makes complete sense. You know, as a child, we used to say that kind of thing at school. If something was easy, you'd just say easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I wondered how widespread that phrase actually is, though, and whether or not you're going to have to overcome the inevitable marketing problem of lemon squeezy. Why lemon squeezy? That'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, it seems like everyone loves it. So far, so good,
Yeah,
I guess.
That's great. Now, let's talk about it from the WordPress point of view, because basically everybody listening to this is a WordPress fanatic. And how does this integrate with WordPress? You mentioned right at the top that it was a SaaS solution. So how do we actually bind WordPress into your SaaS platform, and what capabilities do you offer on the WordPress side? In other words, how do we get started?
You can go ahead, Gilbert.
So as JR said, hosted SaaS platform, which is great because it offers many like positives over the kind of alternative when it comes to selling stuff, digital stuff through WordPress, because normally you have to install a plugin and there's loads of bloat that comes with that, and your site can become slow. You've got to manage everything in the WordPress dashboard. So what we did is we thought we would do it the easy peasy way, which is to build a WordPress plugin where you just install it and then you literally just click connect. You authenticate your account with the Lemon Squeezy WordPress plugin, and then it's ready to go. That's it. There's nothing else that needs to go in your WordPress site, and yeah, that's it. And then in terms of features, at the moment we our like base feature is basically being able to sell your digital goods from Lemon Squeezy using buy buttons on your WordPress site. So you can imagine in the block editor, in Gutenberg, in a post or on a page or whatever, you can add a Lemon Squeezy button, and there's a nice easy drop down to select a product, whatever it is you want to sell from Lemon Squeezy, and that's it. And you just publish it on your page, and straight away you're able to sell your Lemon Squeezy products in WordPress.
Got it. So, okay. So we drop in some sort of, we log in to the SaaS side, grab some kind of API key or something like that, install the plugin on the WordPress site, and that then enables you to connect the products on that we put into our SaaS side, and you can then put buttons on the website. You mentioned that there was buttons for the block editor. Do you have other kind of integrations? So I know that a lot of people listening to this, they happen to be Elementor users or Beaver Builder users or whatever it might be. Do you have options to put buttons on the different page builders as well as Gutenberg?
Not at the moment, but that is certainly something that we've talked about, something we'd like to do in the future. And one of the other features that we did launch with was the ability to run or provide like premium theme and plugin updates for, if you're a software developer that sells, premium WordPress themes or plugins, something that a lot of people ask us for is for the ability to provide automatic upgrades and through the WordPress dashboard, but via their Lemon Squeezy account. So That's all like built into the WordPress plugin. So if you're a developer, if you're a WordPress developer and you sell premium plugins, that's kind of ready to go for you there as well. So that's kind of what's in the plugin at the moment. But yeah, there's certainly lots we'd like to do in the future with it as well.
Okay, that's good to know. So, are we selling with Lemon Squeezy? Are we selling things one at a time? In other words, if I was to go to a Lemon Squeezy enabled site and I was to click the Buy Now button, what's the workflow that, or the UX that I would be going through at that point? Would I then get an immediate pop up saying, "Great, it's added to some kind of cart," or can I kind of continue shopping as in a, like I might do with a WooCommerce store or something like that, and go around the site and add further things and then eventually go through some kind of checkout process? What's the experience look like?
So in this case, as it stands today, you can do, when you click a button, it'll pop up either modal, or we also have hosted checkout pages. So if you don't even want to deal with it on your site and you want to just send it over to some secure place, we can host it for you as well. In terms of an actual cart, we don't have the ability to add things to a cart. We've actually found that everyone thinks that they need one, but they're not actually using it. So, and it sometimes complicates just the checkout process altogether. So I think in the future, with some of the things we have planned, I do think we'll open up the ability to do a cart. But as it stands today, we don't actually have a physical cart that you can throw things in.
Yeah. Okay, so we're very much one thing at a time, and that suits a whole broad swathe of the market, doesn't it? There's a lot of people who are just trying to sell, I don't know, an ebook or some kind of downloadable thing, software license it may be. Do you just want to run through the scenarios that you feel are best suited for where the product is right now? And I should make the point that we're recording this towards the very latter end of 2021. Caveat emptor, there may be improvements, maybe things will change. If we get on to talking about pricing, that may be different. Who knows? But this is where we are right now. What are the things that you're seeing your customers are successfully selling most often? So what should people be thinking about when they're thinking, okay, I'll go check out Lemon Squeezy?
Yeah, so I guess predominantly things like ebooks is a big one, obviously. We see quite a lot of software, which is unsurprising, especially because of our kind of license key and subscription features like that. That's really appealing for software developers who are, selling stuff and want to, charge a subscription on an annual basis, for example. The other thing we see a lot of is like design assets and packs, like wireframe kits for Figma or Sketch or, these kind of things, like just to design templates and assets and maybe even themes and that kind of thing. So that's, at the moment, that's predominantly the kind of things that we've seen going through the system.
Yeah, I would say it's interesting too, because there's definitely, we don't have a true like course builder, right? Where you could build up a whole course in Lemon Squeezy yet. But there's a lot of people that use Lemon Squeezy to sell their course, access to their course. So that's been a big one as well. Mm-hmm. And then people are just selling like their services. And the reason for that really is being the merchant of record. They can actually use services like a Stripe or something like that to quickly send out an invoice for their service, whether it's they're a web designer or developer and they're trying to bill for their time. So they actually use Lemon Squeezy for that as well. So that's been an interesting use case that we didn't actually see when we launched this.
That is intriguing, isn't it? I wouldn't have seen that one coming. Okay, let's just go through some of those one at a time. Let's take the example of an ebook. So we haven't talked about the back end of the SaaS platform, and maybe this will promote it. So, okay, I've got an ebook. It's going to be a huge hit. Everybody's going to buy it. How do I enable that to be sold via Lemon Squeezy? I think we can work out for now that there will ultimately be a block, which is a button on our website, which people can use to buy it. And that's all taken care of. What do we actually do on the SaaS side after we've registered an account?
So, the process is really simple. You literally just create a product in Lemon Squeezy, upload your files and put in your details, pick your pricing, your description, your name, all that kind of thing, and publish it. And then you go back to your WordPress site and, select that product from the button, and that's it. And again, because we're the merchant of record, you don't need to, connect any payment gateways. You don't need to even set up, payout details to get going or anything like that. It's literally just, it's available for sale in literally minutes, you could be selling something. Yeah.
So where does that PDF actually live, and are there options? So what I mean by that is it held on your infrastructure? Do you have your own servers? Are you, I don't know, maybe using Amazon or Azure or something like that? And also, do I have configurable options to sort of say, I don't know, whoever downloads it, they can download it once. They just get one hit, or they can download it for the next month, or they can download it 12 times, or whatever. Are there limits and constraints that I can put on the downloadability of that thing, and make sure essentially it doesn't get out into the wild and everybody gets a copy for free?
So from a technical point of view, excuse me, it's all hosted on our side, and part of the reason for that is so that we can basically ensure the security and deliverability of the files. And while you can't necessarily limit that, we put a lot of effort into making sure that the system was secure. So you can download files if you've purchased a product. You'll get an email with a link to download the file, and you also can access a dashboard on Lemon Squeezy that kind of shows your previous orders, your order history, and you can always go back there to download whatever files you've purchased through the system. And that could be any products in Lemon Squeezy. They'll show up in your dashboard. But we like sign URLs to make sure that they're temporary and they expire, so they can't be shared, with other people. And we rate limit downloads, so you can only do a certain number of downloads per day. We have kind of quite a few safeguards in place just to make sure there's no kind of abuse of the system, as it were.
Yeah, I think it's often overdone, isn't it? The idea of how safe you need your assets to be. The assumption being that everybody in the world's going to want it, but it is nice to know that you've put those kind of checks and balances in there. On the sort of software licensing side, I feel that there's obviously the elephant in the room here is a plugin which no doubt everybody listening to this has heard of, Easy Digital Downloads, and I would imagine just about everybody who's used WordPress for any length of time has come across this plugin, whether or not you've actually got a license for it or not. You've come across it because you've interacted and downloaded software using EDD. So we're kind of familiar with the process that they have. But let's say that I'm a plugin developer or a theme developer or any kind of software developer, and I've chosen to use Lemon Squeezy. What does that process look like on the back end? How do we take care of things like updates and downloading the plugin and making sure that the number of licenses that are applied are actually being used? Because on the EDD side, that's obviously been fleshed out over a number of years. So I'm curious to see where you go in terms of feature parity, or maybe you've got some unique thing that EDD doesn't have.
No, it's a good question. Gilbert, I think what would be helpful too, this is good context. So the team behind Lemon Squeezy, we've all been in this WordPress space for over a decade. We've all sold digital downloads. We all built platforms before EDD existed, before WooCommerce existed. We built custom things ourselves, right? And we've all used those as well. And so this is definitely a platform. Lemon Squeezy is definitely built from people that have experienced the same, issues.
Yeah.
So I would say even with the first iteration of our plugin, that is something we really worked on and made sure that feature was available. So yeah, as a provider of these types of products, a plugin or a theme that requires license keys, that's already pre-built into the plugin. You don't have to think about it. You just handle your software versions within Lemon Squeezy. Once you do that, it just notifies your customers that they needed to upgrade to a new version, whether it's bug fixes or feature updates or whatever it is. It's all handled easy peasy with Lemon Squeezy, and it literally takes just a second to add it, and then it's all handled with the plugin. You don't even have to set anything up or do anything. And one of the things that I think is hard for people to do is there is a mind shift, right? Because we're all so used to the WordPress way, which is download a plugin, and then I got to go buy all these add-ons, and I got to figure out which add-ons I need for this. And Lemon Squeezy out of the box has all those features pretty much included in the plan, right? And so you don't have to go and get all these different add-ons to throw in. It's already done for you. And so that, I think that's one of the nice things about it is, I don't have to go pay for this and pay for that, or go get this third-party plugin over here that might conflict with this plugin in my WordPress site. It's all taken care of for you. I think that's like the real power behind it.
So I can do all the things that I would expect. So let's just run through some. I can set a limit to the amount of time that license is usable. That check. If you just say yeah or no, that's probably the easiest way of doing it, isn't it? Can I offer lifetime subscriptions?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Can I limit it so it's deployable only on X number of websites? And is the customer able to, the end user that is, who's bought the license for X plugin, are they able to go in and say, actually, I want to revoke that license on that website and put it onto this one instead? I'm going to, so that I don't end up with, essentially I've got 5 licenses, let's say, and I've used them all up, but this website's not using it anymore. Can I deploy it over there instead?
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. I think that's probably enough for me. Yeah, that's great. That's yeah. So basically, it does it all.
And it's really, again, I can't overstate this, but it's so easy to do in the interface. Like literally, you can see all of your customers and all the license keys that they have, and who's active and who's not. And I mean, it's all there.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned that you would be notifying customers. So let's say, again, that I've got a plugin. I've updated it. It's on version 2 now as opposed to version 1. And you said that we'll automatically, I think you said something like that, notify your customers. Is that literally hands-off? You will just email en masse everybody that is a purchaser of my plugin with an existing license?
So part of where all this kind of ties in is that, with the several big features that we really want to bring together to make the whole selling, digital goods really easy peasy. And we've had this vision from the start, and, because you can imagine the way we used to do it, or even the way you might do it now, right? You go and you get a website, so you build a WordPress website and you've got to find somewhere to host it. And then you create a product and you've got to sign up for your payment gateway and handle VAT, tax and all that. And then you get to the point of selling, you think, great, I'm selling software. And then I need to release an update. And you're like, oh, wait a minute, I need to email all my customers. Like, how am I going to do that? So you set up some email marketing software or whatever. And all these services are disparate and complex, and you've got to integrate them all. And so one of the kind of big visions for Lemon Squeezy was to really bring all these things together and tie it all together and basically just make it really easy peasy, funnily enough, to use. And so a big feature that we don't have yet, but one that we are working towards, is email marketing. And it's going to be completely integrated with the whole Lemon Squeezy experience. So the idea is that, you can import your subscribers, you could email them once off. Eventually we'll maybe have marketing automation, so you can email them, automatically at different times. People will be segmented based on what products they've bought and different things. And one of the features that we'd love to offer is that kind of, here's an update for my plugin, and it automatically, sends an email out to everybody who's purchased a plugin saying, look, here's an update, go and, run the update in WordPress or whatever it is. So, so that's kind of the part of the bigger vision that we're working towards at the moment.
Yeah, you kind of feel that the easy peasy kind of offer is basically just, do as little as possible and get the most back in return. So the idea that you would update your plugin, and if you'd configured it, every single person who'd got it and had a current license that was, they were still a paying subscriber, was going to get notified. It just seems like, why not? Why wouldn't I do that? That seems like a really nice idea. Let's move along to this thing, because I really didn't understand this. You've explained it to me in very brief terms. Again, I think it probably needs figuring out in my head. But you mentioned right at the top that you are the merchant of record. Have I got that phrase right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So you're the merchant of record. Now, that to me is something that I don't really understand. So let's explain that right at the outset. What does that really mean? What benefits does that bring, and what does it mean for people subscribing to your platform?
So I'll take a stab at this, and then Gilbert can add some color from a technical standpoint. But I mean, really the best way to think about it is you either take the responsibility on or you pass it off to services like Lemon Squeezy. And what I mean by that is, handling, taxes is complicated, VAT is complicated, especially in the EU, right? Like, how do I charge here, and what percentage do I charge over there? And it becomes a lot, and there's a lot of risk associated to it. And so services like Lemon Squeezy, and why we did this was it really just takes the pain out of having to handle any of that from an e-commerce perspective. And so Lemon Squeezy takes all the risk. We essentially handle all your VAT collection, tax collection, fraud issues, any of that stuff. And there is services out there like this, but not focused on digital downloads, but like Square and PayPal, those services act like this as well. But I think the beauty of it is it allows us to offer an experience like we've just described, where you don't have to go fiddle around with creating merchant accounts and payment gateways and, all that type of stuff. But for the responsibilities from our perspective is, all the boring stuff, PCI compliance, and we're handling a lot of the cancellation and refunds and disputes with those people. And so we do have to make sure that the store owners that are coming onto Lemon Squeezy are obviously acting, like good store owners, obviously. But it really it streamlines everything. And so I think it's a fresh take, and it's a more of a modern approach that we think kind of sets us apart.
Yeah, yeah, and it's very much like the kind of dark underside of selling digital goods online, if you want to call it that, right? Like anyone that's done this, and again, this comes from our own experience of we've all done this in the Make Lemonade group. We've all been in this position where you have to deal with things like chargebacks and VAT, and making sure you're charging the correct sales tax. And if you're in the EU, you've got to register for tax in the right countries, and it's different VAT rates for different countries, and all the nasty bits of having to sell stuff online. And so being the merchant of record just means that we take all that responsibility on ourselves, so that our sellers don't have to, right? They just sign up, sell their stuff, and we pay out at the end of the day, and they can walk away happy knowing that we're responsible for all the kind of nasty bits that people don't really want to have to deal with.
Yeah, it's not just that they're so nasty from my point of view. It's just that they're not only are they nasty, they're just so dull. It's really uninteresting doing that kind of stuff, figuring out all the taxes. Yeah, it is. And it's really time consuming. And if like me, exactly, you live in the UK, I have no idea how the taxation system in the United States works. I really don't get it. And so the option to essentially buy into your service and go, actually, now I don't need to get it. That is quite a powerful feature, right? I think that feels to me almost like the feature of the product.
Well, and it goes. We took it a step further. So to your point, it provides a pretty easy entry into global markets. So if you just want to sell to anyone in the world now, if you're on Lemon Squeezy, you don't even have to think. It's done. And we took it a step further where we support. As a store owner on Lemon Squeezy, we support 95 different currencies, so you can sell in your currency. Nice. We also, when it comes to getting paid, and this is an issue too, right? We have a partnership with Wise.com, and so we'll support 79 different bank payouts, and then we obviously, you can get paid through PayPal as well, which not everyone loves, but that option is available. But again, it's doing that work and spending our resources on that. So we've allowed the input of the money, right, coming in from a merchant of record standpoint. We allowed that super easy. And then the output of it, when you want to get your money, we've made that even easier, where a lot of people before had to use PayPal or something. Now we've given them the ability to use a Wise account or something like that, and they don't even have to set up a Wise account. They set up inside of their Lemon Squeezy account. They just add their bank account, and they're automatically paid. And so we've just spent so much time, I guess, almost like in the WordPress way of like democratizing it, right? Like it's very just everything just kind of is globalized for anyone to use.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think this is the killer feature. I think this is the thing which will get most people interested, is the sort of set it and forget it. And actually maybe not even the sort of crowd which you're speaking to on this podcast. It feels to me like just the regular people who are using WordPress and really don't know what they're doing. They've managed to somehow get an install of WordPress going, whoa, wow, I've got a website. And now they can fully start selling something which is actually what they want to do, not the website bit, not the downloading plugins bit. They just want to start selling the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You go to your website, sign up, agree to the terms, literally type your text, your promotional, make your promotional page, your landing page, put the big fat button on, and you're done, right? That's all you need to think about.
Exactly. And I think it's really important to us as creators ourselves, right? That all the power is still with you. This is your store. These are your customers. These are your products. This is your stuff. It's not, you know what I mean? And so even though we do act as the merchant of record, it's still very important for us to make it feel like this is, and that a lot of our customers love that about us. It's on their custom. We offer custom domains and all that. It's obviously now you can use it on WordPress. So we've really tried to focus on really just being behind the scenes.
If memory serves, when I was reading your literature the other day, you don't actually even need a website, do you? You can you can just use the SaaS platform and have kind of like landing pages. Do you have like a page builder in there, or something where you can create a landing page and that'll get you going?
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good question. So two things. We have the ability to quickly just grab a link. So if you create a product, you could grab a link and send it to our host to check out. So people do that a lot of times. They'll just post a link on Twitter or send an email to someone and just send it right to a hosted page. So they don't have to do anything. But yeah, we are in the process of launching, we're calling it our big website builder, which, maybe isn't as exciting to the WordPress space, but we do feel like we want to offer different options to people. So our builder is, it's taken the same kind of concept with themes, and you can build landing pages, coming soon pages, email opt-in pages, to a full-blown e-commerce store with product pages and all that type of stuff. So we're pretty excited about that, especially with where we grew up, which is, myself, I ran Mojo Marketplace, which was arguably one of the biggest WordPress marketplaces. And so, Orman and Jason and Gilbert, we all know themes and what people want. And that's another thing, is we don't want people to have to sit there and design their website and pay developers and figure out how to do this and get it to work right. We'll just have our themes that are beautiful and they work right out of the box.
Yeah, I'm going to come onto the team a little bit later, because actually, for me, that was also something which made my ears stand up. That's not a phrase, but you get the point. Because you really have got a stellar team, and so definitely from the point of view of building something which I can trust, I think you've nailed that, but also something which will in the future be beautiful. I think you've got all the right people on board there as well. Being the merchant of record, so it has all these fabulous benefits that I think we should address, as we did just before we clicked record, the fact that, and this may be of interest to people, I guess, because you are selling the things, they are in fact being sold by you. So for example, purchase receipts and so on, they're going to come from Lemon Squeezy. I guess they can be branded with your logos and things, I'm assuming, I don't know. But ultimately, you are selling them. And so that's something that we need to dwell on. How does that all work?
Yeah, so from a technical point of view, yes, what happens is you can license your product to us in a way, and we sell it on your behalf. So technically, that's how the process works when we're the merchant of record. Now, obviously, the upside of all of that is that we take on all the responsibility and the liability for the whole process. But as JR was saying earlier, that there isn't really any downsides to it, because we try and make the whole kind of thing as personalizable as possible, right? So, like the email receipts will come from Lemon Squeezy, but you can put your store logo in there. It'll be in there by default. With our website builder, one of the things that we're going to add to that is like an email kind of editor as well.
Nice.
So you'll be able to customize, email receipts and put in your own text and buttons and all that good stuff. And so we really want it to feel like, it's still very much you that's selling the things, even although from a technical point of view, it's not. But, like at the end, we want the customers to feel that they're buying something from you as a seller, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. I mean, that's the trade-off, I guess, isn't it? You've got to, if you're going to go with Lemon Squeezy, you get it hassle-free, And that's just one of the things that comes along for the ride. One of the things that's just occurred to me is a lot of people who are selling one-off products and things like that. They may have a whole army of affiliates that they've got in the background, and I don't know if that's something that you have even thought of, if that's part of the platform or a roadmap. And so what I'm meaning by this is, let's say I've got a plugin, I want to sell it, but I also want to give an affiliate commission, 10, 20, 30, whatever % to people who promote it and make YouTube content or whatever on my behalf. Is there any of that that's possible in the platform?
That's a really good question, and it's been a big feature request. So right now, no, we don't have the ability to offer an affiliate program, but it's 100% on the roadmap. And I think we just want to make sure we get this builder and the email marketing piece out, and then I think the affiliate piece will be right after that. Okay,
and maybe at this point we should mention, because I don't think we've really dwelled on it enough, that you really are just at the beginning of the journey here, aren't you? How long have you been going at this, and how long has it been kind of like out in the wild, beyond the clutches of your beta users?
Yeah, so we started beta. JR, you can correct me on this, but I think we launched into beta earlier this year. Certainly, I think it was like February, March time. And then we launched fully in July, so open to the public in July. So yeah, I mean we've been working on it for almost 2 years now, but really you're right, we're only kind of at the very beginning of the journey, as it were. We've got some big aspirations, big plans for Lemon Squeezy, and lots to do still.
Yeah. So speaking of that, let's say somebody listened to this podcast and their interest has been piqued, and they think, actually, I want to go and look at this, but I also want to be part of it, and I want to help, and I want to be able to offer suggestions and get my ideas right to the front of the queue of the roadmap. Are you still kind of onboarding people in that way? Are you asking for suggestions for what the product needs to have in it that would make it more desirable, or have you kind of locked down the roadmap now and you're happy with what you've got for the next year or so?
Oh no, I think it'd be foolish of us to not take the feedback. I think we're always looking for feedback. But and even just literally yesterday, we had a pretty big course seller that needed some features, and we quickly pulled Gilbert off of what he was working on, which is a big initiative, and he literally built it and we pushed it out. And so we're still just kind of listening to the consumer and what they need and what they want, and obviously, like that comes, there's a fine line, right? Like, so we have to kind of make sure we use our intuition and what we think as well. So, no, we're still heavily leaning on our user base to tell us what they need.
I think you've answered that really well, actually, because you kind of get the impression that all things, there's a sort of sense of atrophy that comes in after a certain amount of time. You've got the product out there. It's 2 years in the wild. You've got millions of customers. There's a kind of speed of development which you have to put the brakes on a bit more with that stuff, because you've got 2 million people whose livelihoods could be ruined if you mess something up. But right now, because you're still new and you've sort of, what is it, like 5-6 months into the sort of open-ended development, the possibility to get your voice heard is probably, it's more likely to be heard now than it will be in 5 years' time. Does that kind of make sense? That was really more what my question was. Yeah,
for sure.
Really interesting. Let's get onto your team then, and I know that they've been mentioned, but I could read them out, but it might be better if one of you guys did, because that always is important to me whenever I go out looking at a WordPress product. And genuinely, this is what I now do more or less every time I buy something. I will go look at the pricing. That's kind of where I dwell first. And then soon after that, I'm on the About Us page. And I want to know who you are, how long you've been doing it, and what your standing is in the WordPress community, and, whether or not there's any kind of mischief that's happened in the past, shall we say. Those kind of things really matter to me. And when I saw your list, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty impressive. So tell us who you are and what the background is of all the people individually, because I think that's really important.
I'll take this one, Gilbert, because this is I think it's tough, right? Like we actually do a pretty poor job right now on Lemon Squeezy talking about our team. And I think we're looking at redoing the site and doing more of a mission / about us page and really showing who the team is. Cause it's weird, right? To kind of do the whole humble brag. So
It is, but I also think in your particular case, there's no, you can really, can really hit this one hard, I think.
Yeah, so I guess so I'll start with the founding team, right? And so there's Orman Clark, who's from the UK. He really was the first kind of $1 million man on the Envato marketplaces. And he kind of set the standard there, and then he went off and built dunk.com along with Gilbert. And that's over 100,000 designers use that to host their online portfolios, which is a really cool product. That's also part of now what we call our collective, which is Make Lemonade, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the other founder is Jason Schuler, and people know him if you're an OG. Press 75 was his theme shop, and he did Theme Garden, and he went off to build Plasso, which was acquired by GoDaddy, and he's been at Microsoft, so he's got a ton of experience from a front end perspective. And Gilbert, our CTO, everyone knows him again from the OG days of the Nevo slider plugin at 5 million downloads. That was a massive hit. Yeah. Part of Dunk, part of Delicious Brains, Spin Up WP. He's been a part of all those teams, and so we're lucky to have Gilbert on the team. And then myself, rounding out the 4 co-founders. I built Mojo Marketplace, which was acquired by Endurance International Group. They own Bluehost, HostGator, Constant Contact. I got that to about 6 million users and integrated into all the hosting companies. And so I left after, kind of being a part of that. And we all teamed up, and here we are, and kind of doing all this lemon stuff together.
That's great. So they're the 4 founders. That's like the core team. But then there's more. There's some other people involved, which is curious as well.
Yeah, we have what's called our collective, and we call our collective Make Lemonade. And there's a funny story behind it, because when we all were sitting down, it was kind of the tail end of 2020, which in our minds gave us everyone in the world a bunch of sour lemons, right? That was a tough year for everyone. And we thought, let's make something positive out of this. Let's make lemonade. So we kind of formed our Avenger team and our Wu-Tang clan. And we've brought on, once we launched it, there's been a lot of makers that we have been friends with for years that kind of wanted to join in on the collective as well. And so they participate with us, and they help us with all the products, and primarily the teams focus on Lemon Squeezy. But just to name some of those guys, Mike Mcallister, he was part of Array Themes and Atomic Blocks, which was acquired by WP Engine. Yep. So he's a big player in the space. You got James Kent, who's everyone knows him as Iconic. WP recently sold to Liquid Web. And Patrick Posner out of Germany, he's been a big WordPress plugin builder. He's got a ton of really neat plugins that are more technical in nature. He's got like a static site kind of generator builder. He's got some interesting stuff that he does. So he's really helped us on the plugin as well. That's and we've got Nick and Will, who come from the Mojo days as well. And so they're more on the technical side. So we've got some nice teams all helping with the collective. And so we've got a fun group that, we get to chat every week together and I guess really build cool things that we want to work on.
Yeah, honestly, that is a real laundry list of excellent talent. I really, honestly, my jaw was on the floor. I was a bit like, okay, there's another one, and another one, and another one. And that for me, if I was going to be jumping on, that would mean a lot. I mean, it maybe not for everybody. Not everybody's interested in who are they, but for me, that matters. And I see all these names, and I recognize them, and I know what they've done, and I, all of their hit back story just speaks volumes about being in the community and sticking things out and making sure that things work and just doing the grind over years. You've like got 100 years of combined experience in there. It's pretty impressive.
That's a good reminder.
Yeah. No, bravo though for assembling that team. That's amazing. You mentioned something there that you wanted to come back to, and I can't remember what you called it. It was something like it was definitely a lemonade reference, but it sounded almost like you were talking about like almost like a marketplace of talent or something, people who might help you. What was it you said? It's gone out of my head.
Yeah, I was just saying that we've kind of opened up Make Lemonade, that We've done some interesting partnerships with different creators that we know. Like, for example, one of the if you go to makelemonade.wtf, which is a really funny domain name, you can kind of see all the projects that we're working on. One of them is Iconic, and we teamed up with James McDonald, who I would argue is one of the better icon designers out there. And we built an icon set together called Iconic. And that's just kind of like an example of Make Lemonade teaming up with another really talented creator and building something that, you know, thousands of people have already really enjoyed, purchased, bought. And we, you know, that's been a really fun collaboration. So I think as time goes on, we're looking at Make Lemonade as like what we can do for the next decade together and build a legacy together and invite other creators that want to do stuff with the team and our audience that we've built. Tap into that. And so that's kind of like the bigger vision of Make Lemonade.
Okay. The way I took it was that you would like have a marketplace of all the different products that you had in your platform, but that's not it. No, that's not. Speaking of that, is that a thing? Can you do that? Can you just sort of say, look, here, I want to surface my product, you know, a bit like Amazon resellers. So you sort of go to Amazon and you see products, and you don't really know whether you're buying it from Amazon. Well, you do after a while, but initially off the bat, you don't really know. And let's imagine that in 2 years' time, you've got, I don't know, 100,000, 200,000 customers, and they want to go into some kind of collective marketplace. You are, after all, the merchant of record.
Yep.
You could, I suppose, do that.
Yeah, isn't it funny how everything just kind of like lays out? That's exactly where we want to head, and we most likely will head. We'll open up a marketplace for Lemon Squeezy where you can just, when you add a product, just add a button, just say, put this in the marketplace too, and now you've got it in the eyes of hopefully millions of people.
Okay. Oh yeah, it's prescient for the first time probably in my life. The thing that we need to talk about, because we'll never hear the end of it if we don't, is the pricing. Let's go through that. So if we head over to the pricing page, which is lemonsqueezy.com/pricing, as you might expect, what I'm seeing at the moment, again, caveat emptor, end of 2021, this may change, it may not. We've got 3 plans. We've got a basic plan, we've got a pro plan, and then we've got an advanced plan. Do you just want to talk us through the different price points and how they differ?
Yeah, I can do this one if you want, Chair. So yeah, we've got so they're all now monthly plans. So it's all a kind of lowish monthly fee. And I say lowish because when you look at the value that's actually provided in each of these plans and all the features that you get in each one, we actually kind of feel like it is pretty it's pretty competitively priced, right? Like you get a lot out of the box with Lemon Squeezy. So but there's a kind of basic plan, which is basically just for you know, as you can imagine, somebody just starting out, somebody who wants to sell. They've maybe created a product and they want to sell it, and they want to just get going and have somewhere to sell it, and maybe have a storefront or whatever. You can do that on the basic plan. And then our pro plan, which is our middle plan at the moment, we have some kind of additional features in there. So one of them is selling subscriptions. Another one is pay what you want pricing, which is kind of, I don't know, you might have seen that, where if you go to a page, you can select a value to pay. And then we have some reasonably big features that are kind of coming up for the pro plan as well. So like one of them, we've talked about affiliate marketing. That'll be one that's in the pro plan. And then another like massive or 2 kind of similar massive features that we want to build that'll be in the pro plan is online courses and memberships. And they're kind of similar but slightly different. So we want to be able to offer people to be able to, you know, sell memberships, sell online courses, and do that in a really easy way through Lemon Squeezy.
So the basic plan, just so that you know, if you go yearly, you can get 2 months for free. So multiply by 10 the amount of the monthly plan if you want to go annual. But the basic plan is $9 a month. Pro plan, $29 a month, and the advanced plan is $99 per month. What I really like your pricing table, that you've got the roadmap features in the pricing. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah.
That's really intriguing. So they're all sort of grayed out because they're not available, but there they are. So you're showing the roadmap features. So I can see that online courses is coming, selling memberships is coming, email marketing coming, affiliate marketing. mentioned that, didn't we? Customer live chat. Nice. Marketing automation coming, and it looks like the website builder. We covered off a few of those, but they're on the roadmap so that you can see it. That's a really neat.
Exactly.
I like that you've done that. That's really clever. The okay, and one of the things that will catch everybody's attention is the transactional cost. So on top of the $29 or $9 plan, you pay something akin to Stripe, but it is slightly different to Stripe. Stripe, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's either 2.4 or 2.9% per transaction, and I think 20 US cents. You're at 3.5% plus 30 cent per transaction. Just explain why that differs.
Yeah, so I think that Stripe's pricing changes depending on where you
That's
are.
right,
Actually,
yeah,
where you
it
are as
does,
a merchant. But in the US, it's 2.9 plus 30 cents. Yeah, but so basically, our transaction fees are to cover the payment gateway transaction fees predominantly. So Stripe and PayPal will both charge you around 2.9% plus their 30 cents. I think PayPal's has actually gone up recently, but the reason that it's slightly higher, or we charge a slightly higher fee, is because there's other fees associated with doing what we do that we actually absorb. So, for example, like payouts. So we do bank payouts and PayPal payouts, and we do bank payouts via Stripe and Wise, as we've mentioned previously. And in both those cases, normally there would be a fee involved, but we kind of really felt that we didn't want people to have to, pay or be charged a fee just to receive their money, right? Like it's another kind of slice of their profit. Plus, it also makes it harder to kind of figure out what the real pricing is. If there's fees all over the place for doing all sorts of different things, it can make it really hard to gauge, what you're actually going to pay in the end. So we decided to absorb all the payout fees, so we cover them, and then we just decided that we would want, just one simple, straightforward transaction fee upfront, based on your payments, and then that way it's dead simple to work out.
Yeah, I mean,
what it's actually going to cost.
We've talked about the benefits of the system that you've got with your merchant of record, and that there is a route to profitability there for you, isn't there? Not just the fee that you get, but also a tiny little amount that you get each transaction, which you'd like to cover those costs for all of the things that you're providing. Seems like a fair exchange to me. The thing about WordPress people is that they tend to want to connect things. They always seem to, they've got a MailChimp account over there and a ConvertKit account over there, and they've got Zapier doing a billion things and so on. And I wondered, I can see in the pricing table that you've got webhooks and things. Just very quickly, probably the last question of the day, if that's all right. What the options are to connect to other existing services of importance, or whether or not you've got some of that stuff in the roadmap. I'm thinking of things like Integromat and Zapier and MailChimp and things.
Yeah, so we've got at the moment we have two email integrations which are actually built into Lemon Squeezy. So one's for MailChimp and one is for ConvertKit, and these are just to make it simple to get email addresses subscribed into those different services if when somebody purchases your product, as you might do otherwise. Yep. So they're actually built into Lemon Squeezy. Zapier is on the roadmap. That's something that we want to do because, again, we know that everybody uses it and connects all sorts of stuff with it. We've not built it yet, but that is something that is on the roadmap. And webhooks is our other feature. So it wasn't that long ago actually we launched our API. And it includes all sorts of stuff, but it also includes webhooks. And again, that's just another way to offer kind of flexibility when it comes to building your own stuff. And it's funny actually because our WordPress plugin that we've just released is built on the back of the API that we released, and we don't use webhooks in it yet, but some of the features that we're planning will probably require webhooks and that kind of thing in the future for WordPress. So you're right, and it's just exactly that. We know people are going to want it and going to use it, and so we're trying to make it as flexible and easy as possible. Yeah,
I think I really do want to labour the point that this is really new, and just because it's not there yet, it's not through lack of attention and care. It just feels like we're only 5 months into this being publicly available, so it's to be expected. So bravo for what seems like an amazing product. Like I said, the URL is lemonsqueezy.com. If people would like to reach out to you guys, let's go for JR first. What's the quickest, easiest, most effective way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, we're really active on Twitter, and then, obviously just you can email us hello@lemonsqueezy.com, but Twitter's we're always on there and chatting with everyone.
Is that just at Lemon Squeezy?
I wish.
Oh,
it's
eternal
you'll
problem.
find it though. Yeah, it's at LM Squeezy.
Oh, that moment where you typed it in to Twitter. No, it's taken. Darn it.
Yeah.
Okay, and Gilbert, if there's anything you wanted to say differently there?
No, yeah, just the same thing. Yeah, I'm Gilbertron on Twitter, and yeah, just hit us up anytime. We're always happy to chat.
Thank you very much. Yeah, real pleasure chatting to you about Lemon Squeezy today. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for having us on the show. Thanks, Nathan.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed that episode. Really curious and interesting solution, don't you think? Lemon Squeezy, a SaaS-based solution which allows you to put things, digital products, on your WordPress website, but takes away a lot of the burden by being the merchant of record. As I said, if you reach out to them, I'd really welcome it. If you mention that you heard about them from the WP Builds podcast, that would be most helpful indeed. The WP Builds podcast is brought to you today by Cloudways. Cloudways provides the ultimate managed WordPress and WooCommerce hosting solutions. Easy setup allows you to get started in minutes. Focus on your business and say goodbye to hassles. Get started with their free 3-day trial to enjoy unmatched performance, superb uptime, and 24/7 active support. You can find out more at cloudways.com. And we do thank Cloudways for helping us to put on the WP Builds podcast. Speaking of the podcast, we'll be back next Thursday. It'll be an episode with David Wormsley and myself, but we'll also be back on Monday for our This Week in WordPress show. It's live, 2 p.m. UK time, wpbuilds.com/live. We'd love to have you there making comments. Okay, that's all I've got for you this week. I'm going to fade in some cheesy music and say bye-bye for now.